Welcome to Legal Keys, unlocking time, revenue, and results. The podcast that connects you with the people, technologies, and trending topics shaping the modern legal landscape. From cutting-edge AI innovations to high-growth marketing strategies and everything in between. Legal Keys is your go-to resource for actionable insights. Brought to you by Faster Outcomes and hosted by Tim Sawyer, two-time Inc. 500 co-founder entrepreneur. We're here to help you navigate the tools and trends driving success in today's legal world.
Hello and welcome to Legal Keys, brought to you by Faster Outcomes, my good friends at Faster Outcomes, the ultimate AI-powered legal intelligence platform for lawyers and law firms of all shapes and sizes. Totally psyched to be here today. By the way, just the smile on my guest face alone today is enough to make this entire day worthwhile. And I can't wait to introduce her to you. I'm your host, Tim Sawyer. And as always, we thank you for joining us. If you're new to the podcast, appreciate you popping by today. If you've been following us for a while, this is our 18th episode. As always, appreciate the support. Today, so typically, as you guys know, this is a legal tech podcast. We're going to do something that you don't hear a lot on legal tech podcasts. We're going to talk about humans and humanity. Big plot twist. So we're talking about something that doesn't get enough airtime, and that's the human side of the law firm branding. Not logos, taglines, websites, but the art of creating real connection, lasting loyalty, and brand that clients just don't hire, but they remember, they trust. And our guest has got us today. And there's nobody better to unpack this than our guest, Kia Arian. Do I say Arian or Arian?
Arian is good.
Arian is good. Okay. Kia is a brand strategist, marketing mentor, and founder of Zine, a boutique agency that helps visionary entrepreneurs and law firms turn their messages into movement. She spent over 20 years helping professionals build brands rooted in authenticity, which I personally love, story, and actual human connection, not just algorithms and ad budgets. She's also got her own podcast, the Results Driven Life podcast. I'm sure you can find that anywhere. And she's the creative force behind the Muse's Pen, a storytelling platform built on alignment, voice, and purpose. Lastly, since 2005, Kia has championed what she calls marketing you can hold. Print newsletters, beautifully crafted mailers. Remember this stuff? We got to go back to this. We're going to talk about it today. Shock and awe packages, the kind of marketing that shows up in someone's hands, not just their inbox. Her work blends direct response strategy, I want to talk more about that, emotional resonance, and a touch of rebellious soul, because she says the best marketing doesn't chase attention, it earns devotion. Powerful words in a world of AI and algorithmic insanity. With that being said, Kia, we really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Tim. Really excited to be here and to talk to your audience. Got a lot of exciting things that we want to talk about.
I can't wait. By the way, I just saw you speak. Absolute blast. I was immediately connected to your story, and you have a really cool story. I guess the first question I have is, how'd you end up in law? What was that journey like?
So the way I ended up in law is I got connected to Ben Glass, and
Okay.
I just launched. I sort of made my one insane move, which is quit a perfectly sound job with the Hubble Space Telescope, doing amazing work with amazing
That's cool.
people, and
Yeah.
and I shared that story on at the conference, and decided to just go out on my own and explore different things. Decided to go creative, do something very creative, which was graphic design. I have a computer background, so I wanted to blend
Yep.
computer and creativity. Landed on graphic design, landed on purchasing a print shop with, at that time, with my husband. And
Yep.
we just went in together. And so I launched my design agency from that print shop. I call it a dusty old print shop.
Yep.
And I did this one last ditch direct mail
Yep.
to attorneys and accountants because the digital publishing just started to come on board. at that time, and that was like around 2008,
Yep.
where everybody, you could do desktop publishing and digital everything. And so printing started to go way down. And I was like, what are we going to do? I have a print shop. What am I going to do? And print
Yep.
shops were going out of business left and right. And one last ditch effort, sent 100 postcards to people who still needed printing, attorneys and accountants. And I got two responses. One didn't, just fell through. The other one was Ben Glass.
Yep.
He was an attorney who had started his
You
market.
got a good one.
I got it. I got the big fish.
You got the big kahuna.
I did. And he had just started Great Legal Marketing. It had been 5 years that Great Legal Marketing is on his 20th year anniversary, I believe. But it
Wow.
had been 5 years, and he was looking for a postcard vendor, and I showed up, and the rest is history.
Amen. What a great story.
Mhm.
Now, some people may not recognize the name, but I did. I really enjoyed listening to Dan Kennedy.
Dan Kennedy.
Genius. For those of you who don't know, Dan's in his 70s. He's one of the godfathers of direct marketing. He's marketed in every industry. He's super smart. And basically, listening to Dan is like reading your resume here, right? In terms of thinking, right? So when you talk, he's getting up there, it's 2025, and he's talking about creating contemporary mail campaigns and shock and awe campaigns like you. How is the legal community reacting to that when you say, hey, by the way, there's a couple inboxes, there's still mailboxes, and are people responding to that? Tell me how that, it's been a while since my digital marketing days and my marketing time, but what's going on with that?
So here's what's going on. First of all, it is moving 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
That's for sure, right? So I think that was one of the things that Dan said, was that the level of complexity is like exponentially growing
Yeah.
in marketing. And that's primarily the media that's available. And so and that's where the conversation was, is, well, with this complexity, how do you focus and um, reduce the complexity for you, right? Like, you can't solve
Yeah.
the whole problem, but reduce complexity. And that's where it led to mailboxes. And
Yeah.
time and again, this is Ben's message too. The mailbox has become emptier and emptier. And even, I mean, you could probably attest to it too. You used to get so
Yeah.
much mail. Now it's like you might get a few bills. If you don't have, online bill, you get some flyers, and who knows what else.
Yeah.
So reducing the media, the availability of the media is where you can reduce the complexity. Print and direct mail are becoming less and less noisy, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say less and less expensive, because that's kind of relative. When we talk
Yeah.
about marketing, we talk about ROI,
Yeah.
and so,
Compared to PPC, it's way less expensive.
especially for
Yeah.
attorneys, right? I mean, you've got
Yeah.
attorneys paying minimum 5, 10, 20,000 a month
Yeah.
for these, PPCs and LSAs and all those.
Yeah.
But direct mail, I look at it as going deep, and there's a couple of, and we can expand on that, and you let me know what you think the audience would like. But when it comes to direct mail for attorneys, I always advise them to stay in contact with the people who already know them. So go deep with people who are already engaged, your clients, your referral sources, friends, family, community. That's really where you're going to get the biggest bang when you do
Yep.
direct mail. Cold mailing for attorneys, that's a whole sort of different strategy, but
Yeah.
that's really where it's at. And that's where Dan continues, he's never wavered with the power of direct mail, the power of the physical. And even during the peak of digital, you still
Right.
had people, um, companies who were sending newsletters and regular, again, the nurture model into your own herd. That's really where the power is. You still have
Right.
people sending that out and getting all kinds of, being able to scale and increase lifetime value and immediate value and increase sales. So you still had that with direct mail. And even
Yeah.
you even had Google sending postcards,
Right.
advertising, telling them to, come in. So Google is sending postcards, Amazon is sending catalogs, postcards. So you still had these big companies who know that direct mail works.
Direct mail still works. And what's interesting, so you said something profound, and you were talking about complexity, right? And I just want to make sure that that didn't get lost on our audience. So by layer of complexity, what we're talking about is the bombardment of the human brain digitally, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, email, WhatsApp, text, phone calls, every way in the world that a human could get distracted digitally is happening. So not only when you try to send an email, are you competing with the 1 million other emails, the 2 million LinkedIn notifications and all that, it's just stacked, right? And to your point, and it's a really cool visual to think about. So that box is like, there's nothing, you can't put emails in it, right? Whereas the mailbox, which almost feels when you talk about it, it almost like calms me a little. Oh, like I could go out and I could just take a piece of mail and just read it. Then if I like it, I can call them. If I not, I can throw it away. I think it's profound because when you think about that. So the question that I have is, our typical listeners, anywhere from 1 to 10 lawyers, personal injury, and they're trying to get things going, right? They're in a constant battle of how do I keep the phones ringing? How do I increase the quantity and quality of traffic to my website and phone? And so you meet one of those people in the street and they say, oh, by the way, I'm really trying to get my thing going. Someone told me that you've got a great reputation. How can you help me? Like, what's the value prop to help them understand that this might make sense?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing I'll say is, what are you doing to leverage people who already have your trust, who already like you, who you don't have to convince to do business with you? What are you doing with those people? Because the attorney, especially like the personal injury attorneys, because you don't really have repeat clients when someone's injured, right? Accidents, like
Yep.
this acute need that someone has, they don't know they need you until they need you that instant where they are injured or whatever accident they get into. So they're always chasing the next lead rather
Yep.
than going deep and building, this is a Dan Kennedy term, building an iron fence around
Yeah.
the people who already know them, and they're the biggest source of referrals for them, and staying top of mind to them. So that's what I ask them. What are you doing? Every attorney, almost without exception, that I speak to, when I ask them, where's your biggest source of leads and new cases? Referrals, hands down.
Yeah.
Referrals, right? So why are they spending so much time and resources and money getting the new lead rather than really investing into referrals and nurturing into the current list? That's what I ask them. That's what I ask them.
Yeah. And I'm curious to hear what is the typical answer. It's, oh, I'm running PPC ads or.
Well, I email them once a month. Is that
uh,
enough?
yeah.
Or, well, I'll send a birthday card, or I'll reach out. I'll have lunches with my referral sources, which is good. Not scalable, but good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't stop doing that. So or they don't know like what to do. They don't really, you know, some of them, especially the younger ones, are like, how do I even get a stamp?
Right.
How do I mail something? What is that? Not to like crap on them, but that's really how big the gap has gotten
Yeah.
with
I can see
digital
that.
and non-digital.
And I think outside of dollar wise, the cost, which is significant,
Yeah.
the barriers are easier, right? Like I can set up an email campaign, I can spin it up in a CRM tool in 2 seconds and blast it out to 1 million people, and I feel good. Like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? I call it in sales and marketing a feel good move. Makes you feel like you did something, but really,
Mhm.
did you? And I think you're challenging that thought process and saying, hold on a second. Everybody is over here doing this,
Mhm.
right? But there's an opportunity over here. And when you talk about people that that implies that there's some type of familiarity or brand recognition. What advice do you give um, in absence of that if someone hasn't done a lot of work and doesn't really understand? First of all, share your concept of how to build a brand in in most personal injury lawyers. The other thing I want to make a comment about is sometimes I go to conferences and I feel like we're always talking to the same 5 lawyers. They have the same 5 law firms. They have 75 lawyers, and they're industrial shops, and there's only 10 of them in the country. And we always talk about the same ones. Where the bell curve for the average personal injury lawyer is what? How many lawyers? 3, 4, 5, 2, right? So I like, not that I don't love my friends. One of my best friends, a business partner, owns an industrial law firm, Rob Levine. I love him. But I always say to him, yeah, Rob, but what about the other 99.5% who don't have a chief marketing officer, who don't have a brand officer, who don't have, someone, even a director of marketing? Like, do you bump into those people that often, and how do you help them?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Tim. And I actually wanted to touch on that when we're talking about, the complexity of media, right? That's where the complexity, we talked about that. And where, going from digital to print, that's one differentiator. But the other differentiator that is the absolute superpower of the 99.9% of law firms, the smaller law firms, is their story, is their personal brand, right? It's their journey of who they are and how they do life. And a lot of law firms, regardless of whether you're big or small, they have this bent on being, I've got to be very professional. I got to look put together. I got to look really polished. And, there's value to that. And I'm not, if that's what you want, I'm not going to tell you not to do that. But, now you're separating the humanness of it with the institutional, really polished, lawyers need to, a lawyer who wants to really have that edge, can you make yourself more approachable and not feel intimidating to your market? And so where they can set themselves apart is really their story. It's their, what I call their personal brand, mixed in with their professional brand. And there is a way to do that. A lot of attorneys are hesitant to do that for a variety of reasons. A lot of it is because, well, I don't want to look unprofessional. I want to sound really, strong with my credentials and move forward with that, or they don't want to be the face of their firm, or a lot of times they just don't, they're uncomfortable with that visibility. I don't care who you are, you're a lawyer or you're a baker, it doesn't matter. They're uncomfortable with that visibility and showing themselves. So there's a lot of layers to that, but to answer your question, to really bring in your personal story into your brand and into your message is really where they're going to differentiate themselves.
So let's make sure that we captured what you just said. It is really important to let your love light shine, right? To humanize yourself. And there are some, you see the lawyers who are really good at that. They have fun. They bring their mother involved. They, carry mail around the house. They tell jokes. And it almost seems like the lawyers who can become most vulnerable have the biggest followings.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Explain that.
Let me give you some examples of how messaging is created based on who you are. And, the branding that we do with my agency is we don't just fabricate a brand for you. We don't just formulate something that sounds good or sounds catchy or clever. Like, no, so many times I pull back on cleverness and what I call like meaningless taglines that just sound catchy. It's just stop doing that and let's make it meaningful and something that really hits, that's rooted in what matters to you as the founder, as the attorney, but also reflects the impact that you're making, the biggest transformation that you're bringing. And, for personal injury attorneys, it's not just getting them a lot of money. In fact, most of your really good clients don't want the most amount of money they can get. They just want their lives back. They want their lives back. They want everything to go back to before the accident is what they want. And sometimes that means a lot of money, but there's a lot more to it. What's that lot more to it that you can tap into? And that's rooted in really, and pull it out of your own story. So for example, a personal injury attorney, he went through our brand discovery process, and he's very very competitive, small town. And so when I told him to tell me your story, and it's nice when you have someone that you feel safe, you feel like they're not going to judge you, right? If you like share your
Yep.
story, the details are your story. So I'm like, well, tell me your story. And so he shared with me, why he became a lawyer. It's just generational. His father and his grandfather were attorneys. In fact, his whole family, they've been in that community for generations. He had people in courts, people in the sheriff's office, people in the jails. They were like the mafia of that town, but the good
Yeah.
mafia, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so, and he's a good man, like
Yeah.
really, like very, a lot of integrity, very kind attorney. And so I said, well, that's amazing. And so I asked him, I said, well, tell me about your clients. Share with me a story of the biggest impact that you've made that was meaningful to you and meaningful to your client. Immediately, he told me a story about a woman who lost her mother and her young daughter in a car accident, same accident. She was the only
Yeah.
survivor.
That's awful.
Tragic, horrible story. And um, helped her through the legal process of getting the compensation, getting the medical care, all of that, right? But her life was left in pieces. But he helped her. He stayed with her. He got her connected in the community because he knew so many people in the community. That was his town. That was his father's, his grandfather's town. And he connected her and helped her really rebuild her life. And that was so rewarding for him. And so what I said to him, I said, that's your superpower, is building community, creating community. And he's like, yeah. And I said to him, I said, if you didn't have to do the work that you did, if everything stayed the same, the money, the clients, everything was taken care of, no loss to relationships, no loss to income, you could do whatever you wanted to do, what would you do? Immediately, he said to me, I would build a youth sports complex. I was like, what? He said, I would build a youth sports
Yeah.
complex.
Bring everyone
Why?
again.
It brings people together. It brings families together. It serves the community. That was
Yeah.
his superpower. That was his purpose. That was his calling. That was the message, Tim, that he carried. It's nothing he did. It was just who he was. So that's what we take and let's build
Yeah.
that brand. And his brand message was became we provide lifelong support for seriously injured people so that they can recover. I'm not saying it exactly, but it was
Yeah. Yeah.
lifelong support for seriously injured people.
Yeah.
The lifelong support was the community. Seriously
Yeah.
injured was the target market, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the people who have like life-changing injuries, I think that was part of it. So it defined who he was looking for, which is really the
Yeah.
workings of a really good brand message. Who do you want? What's the outcome you get? And what is the quality in which you deliver that outcome? That is a brand message. It's rooted in your story and who you are. And it's glorious. Everybody has it, Tim. Everybody has it. They just need the
I
guts to
love it.
say it.
And so I'm thinking to myself, what's that you said you have? Is it a boot camp or something that you offer? How do
I do a
they
brand discovery intensive. It's a
brand
1 week
discovery?
long intensive where we pull all that out and put it into a message.
Got it. And do they physically go there, or is it a virtual thing, or how's it work?
It's virtual. Yeah, no, we meet
Virtual.
together, and there's a series of questions that are answered interview style. And so I'm the mirror, right?
Yep.
Tell me, and I reflect it back to you the way that you can't see it. And I say it, and I say, you're trying to figure out on your own is like trying to figure out what you look like by touching your face. You need a mirror. You need someone who's going to reflect it back accurately, non-judgmentally, because we judge ourselves,
Yeah.
non-judgmentally, and say, is this really what you like? What do you love? Because when you root it in what you love and what lights you up, that message emerges and it propagates through all your media. Like pick the top three, right? Basic marketing 101. Pick the top three or the top one, actually, now with the top three: email, video, I don't know, print, whatever, like whatever you want to do. And just stick with those, be really good at it and hammer that message in. And that's where you're going to see that exponential growth rather than
Yeah.
jumping from, trying to do everything and jumping from one media to another.
If I could summarize, take a shot at summarizing everything you just told me, it's authenticity,
Yeah.
consistency, and frequency.
Yep. That's right. Narrow, right? And
Yeah.
stay focused on what you do best and what gives you what creates the biggest results that you love. And let me share this one point because
Yeah.
it's our minds that stop us from really getting those results. Here's what
Yeah.
people see. They look around and they're like, well, so and so's doing it. Well, so and so's in this space. Well, this person has a similar message. What makes me different? What makes me unique? And so they either kind of jump the shark. Do you know that
Yep.
expression?
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
an old
Of course.
70s
Yep.
from what the Happy Days, right? So they either do something like crazy, which whatever, God bless them if they want to do that, or they just sort of retreat and kind of, plod along, trying to like along with the rest, right? And here's the message that they need to understand when they feel like, well, I'm a small fish in a big sea.
Yep.
There is a message that you carry that is wrapped in your story that only you can deliver. And there are people who will only hear it from you because of your story, because of the way you deliver it. I could tell them the same story. I can
Right.
say the same message to them, the same solution. They won't hear it. But because of who you are and because of who they are, they'll hear it from you. And they're the ones. And so I tell people that really when it comes to brand development, when it comes to really understanding, creating your message, you have a duty to that.
Yeah.
It's like a moral obligation to create that visibility so that the people who are waiting for your help find you and that you deliver that help. Like it really is. And I really believe in that. It's
No,
one of my core values.
it's really powerful, and I'm grateful that, like I said, we've done almost 20 episodes now. We talk a lot about technology. We talk a lot about artificial intelligence. We talk, but you're right. It's that human component, and I was so grateful to meet you at the conference and do some reflecting on that. So going forward, so now you're helping people establish a brand. You're helping them be true to themselves. You're pulling out that authentic. How do you feel about this, right?
Mhm.
And then opening their eyes to, hey, there's a couple things that we can do. There's digital, we can do digital, but there's also some traditional stuff that let's look at that. So all that's going well. So what do you have now? It's November, heading into December. What's exciting coming up for you? December, January, February, you traveling, you publishing, what do you got going on?
So I do have my book coming out. So I have the advanced um, manuscript here that I sent to a few people, but I have my book coming
What's it
out.
called?
It's called Reignite Your Fire. Discover the greater purpose that your business success has prepared you for.
Nice.
hmm
I gotta get
Reignite
a
your
copy.
fire.
Signed copy.
Of course. Yep. So reigniteyourfirebook.com.
Reignite your fire book.
Reigniteyourfirebook.com. So
Okay.
just put in your information that opts you in to get the advanced signed copy plus a gift.
I love that. And they can find you on LinkedIn,
Oh
Instagram,
yeah.
everywhere.
LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Yes.
Yeah, you're awesome. I
Thank you.
really I knew this was going to be fun, and I really appreciate you taking the time. And people should heed that advice. If someone outside the book wants to, they heard they're like, you know what? Actually, I have a message. I've been rolling around. It's been rolling around in my head for 3 years. I want to get serious about it. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So they can just email me directly, Arian at zinemarketing.com. So for your listeners, just email me, tell me that you saw me on Tim's podcast. And I'm on LinkedIn. I have a big digital footprint. My Facebook is public, my Instagram is public. Kia Arian. So you can find me there, and reach out to me and yeah, let's see kind of where they are
Yeah,
and that message.
my audience needs to reach out to you. So they need to grow with your digital marketing strategy. They need to save time with faster outcomes, artificial intelligence. And 2026 is going to be great for our listeners because they're going to have more fun, make more money than they've ever made before. As
That's
long as they
right.
listen to you. And
That's
who
the
doesn't
key.
want to make more money and have more fun in 2026 and beyond?
The fun, Tim, that's exactly the fun. Like if it's not
Exactly.
fun, just stop doing it. Life's too short.
It's true. Kia, thank you. And I want to thank our listeners for joining us today. For those of you interested in learning more about Faster Outcomes, you have all Kia's information. Faster Outcomes, just go to fasteroutcomes.com. That's fasteroutcomes.com, the ultimate artificial intelligence platform for lawyers and law firms of all shapes and sizes. I thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you so
amazing.
much, Tim. Loved being here.
Appreciate it.